Well, good afternoon. We were
Hello.
discussing about uh, cloud computing technologies, where what type of standards are used in the last class. We discussed about standards, application level standards, which are used will be the HTTP and XMPP, and also WSS, and for authentication purpose, you'll go override, and also PCI DSS requirement. Then today we'll talk especially about what type of standards which are supposed to be followed at a client level. So when your client connects to a cloud, they need to run a certain software on their machine. So obviously, when a client wants to connect to a cloud, so they need to run a software. So that software most probably but be your web browser or similar equipped application. So there may be some application which is already designed. You use that application, or whether you maybe use your web browser. For example, see, if you want to access the cloud, if you want to access your cloud in from your mobile, if in your mobile already you have some if suppose in my phone, my cloud, one a small app, some small application is there. So when I open that, I need to mm, type the user credentials like my user ID and the password. Then I can connect to my mi cloud, and whatever I have stored in the mi cloud, or whatever the things I can do from the mi cloud, I can access them and I can retrieve them. Otherwise I can go to the web browser. So if I want to connect to my mi cloud through my laptop, then I will open the my web browser, either it may be a Chrome or Mozilla Firefox, which is available with me. Then I'm going to access my cloud. So generally, web browsers are the number of means use a number of ways to store and display the data, so which likely known as HTML. So we are having the HTML, which is used to display the contents. The web browsers are going to use the HTML to display the information. Already you are much aware of this HTML. You have studied it about the HTML in your web technologies subject, but let us just once again recall what we have discussed using the HTML. So much of the cloud computing is based upon connecting via World Wide Web. That is important to talk about the main standard to communicate, that is HTML. So it is a constant revision. It is under constant revision in its to improve its functionality as well as usability. So the World Wide Web Consortium is the organization that is charged with designing and maintaining the language. So your W3C, or the World Wide Web Consortium, is responsible for actually mm, continuous revision of your HTML, and it is going to provide the functionality. So it is organized that when you click on a link on a web page, you are accessing HTML code in the form of hyperlink, and then it takes to another page. So that example. So for example, here, if I say some www.onlinespi.com, for example. So I'm trying to open online SBI. So when I try to open it, so it has a lot of hyperlinks also. See, these are blue, which are mentioned here, are hyperlinks. For that particular page. So when I request something, this HTML code is actually transferred to my system. My browser is going to interpret this entire HTML code, and it is going to display the web page in this form. Now, if I click on any sorry, hyperlink which is available for me, example SPA card, if I click on this, see another web page is opened here. It is trying to open on another web page, means it is actually retrieving that HTML page. It has sent a request to the server for this SBI card web page. So as per my connection speed, it is actually waiting for that HTML page to be retrieved. And once it is retrieved, then what happens here is it is going to display it on my screen. Let us try to see here. It is, I think, it is opening. Or otherwise, if I go for another one, okay. So it's somewhat slow. That's the reason why it is not getting. So let us. I will show you. Okay. So when I click on this hyperlink, another web page will be opened and it will be displayed on the. So how actually it works there? HTML is a series of short codes typed in a text file by another, by the author or created by the web page software. Means it is a series of code. So now see here now what it says here, the same thing. It is a series of code here. So this is some textual code which is actually typed by a developer or some responsible for developing, means for creating this web page. So when I click on that hyperlink, this web page is actually downloaded. This actually HTML file is actually downloaded, and this HTML file is interpreted by my web browser displayed like this on my screen. Right. So that's what is actually is done here. So it has
Sir,
a
voice break అవుతుంది సార్.
shortcut codes called as tags. You know that it voice break out. No, ఒక్క నిమిషం.
అవును సార్.
One thing. సో ఇప్పుడు వస్తుందా?
వస్తుంది సార్.
Okay, so now see here. So when I click on some web page, now I just close this. See here, if I say something SBI FASTag, it's not opening. See mutual funds web page. So these all are actually we are having this hyperlinks which are displayed here. Now this is what is the web page. Now if I click on this, as I told you that we have the source file, we have the page source file, and in this these all are tags. You know that already. These are tags. You know. Okay, you have learned this. So we have the tags. The text is then saved in an HTML file and you viewed by the web browser. The web browser, as I said, it is translates the text into the form the author want to see it. Whether means in what type of form you want to see it, it is going to be translated and it will be displayed. Okay, next. The tags are what separate normal text from HTML text. So the normal text doesn't have tags, but in case of HTML, you have the tags which are actually placed in some angular brackets. So like /b. Now here something is given. Here something is given. So in between b and this /b, the meaning of that is the text should be appear in bold. Means how the text should be appeared. So you are going to place the tags, and different tags are there. You learned already. Okay, and those tags will have some effect. Actually, those tags are not appeared, but in fact, their effect will be seen. Like if you want to see them as bolded, the text will be in bolded. Then it may be italic. Then it will be. It may change the colors. It may change the font. It may change the size of the text, etc. Okay, and also after this, you have learned the CSS, the cascading style sheets also. So cascading style sheets are used to control how the web pages are presented. We know we have learned already that HTML, normal HTML file will tell the web browser what to be presented, but CSS will tell you the web browser how it should be displayed there, how the page should be appeared. So it defines the style. The style may be the size of the text, the appearance of the text. It maybe it's a font color, font size. Okay, uh, whether it may be bold or italic or etc. And it makes the pages more effective and accessible. There you can add some special effects also. Basic special effects and interactions are provided, means you can have the interactive web pages also, which can be developed using the JavaScript, which adds lot of power to HTML. Then we have the DHTML also, the dynamic HTML. These all concepts actually we have covered in web technologies, but again, let us revise them here. That DHTML is not a new specification of HTML, but rather a different way of looking and controlling the HTML codes and commands. So when regular HTML loads, it doesn't going to change, whereas DHTML gives us more control over the HTML elements, allowing them to change without returning to the web browser. Means the DHTML pages will be changing by themselves, so they have the control where you can change them. You can change them. The elements can be changed accordingly as per the requirement there. Whereas the normal static HTML pages, they won't change. They remain as it is. Whereas the DHTML gives the control over the HTML elements, allowing us to change without returning to the web server. So there are four uh, parts of DHTML: that document object model, the scripts, the cascading style sheets, and XHTML. So what is this DOM? The DOM, the document object model, allows you to access your web page and make the changes with DHTML. So this specifies every part of the web page and provides consistent naming conventions, allowing us to access your web page and change their properties. So what you can do here is dynamically change the properties of the web page. So you can give the naming convention to each and every part of the web page, and as and required, you can change those contents accordingly. Then you have the scripts. The most common scripting languages are JavaScript and ActiveX control. So scripts are used to control the objects specified in the development. So if you want to have a control over the objects, means if you want something, the objects to be done, then you can go for this JavaScript and ActiveX. And you know that ActiveX controls are associated with Windows platform, whereas the JavaScript can be used with any kind of platform here. Then we have the CSS, as I just told you, that if you want to remain the look and feel of a web page, so means if you don't want to change the appearance of the web page, then what you can do here is you can go with your CSS. So will have the same color, font, background colors, images, etc. Everything, the placement of the objects on the page, etc. remains the same, though if you are changing the web browser. So this I explained you already in case of web technologies, that why we are going for CSS is the reason that every browser will be coming with its own properties, means their own type of text, own type of font, with own type of colors, own type of background, everything they are going to come. And as per the web browser, the contents, the look and feel of the web page may change, but if you are using the CSS, then the same CSS file will also be loaded, and the objects will behave according to whatever the CSS content is there. Okay, the same style will be maintained. And XHTML is actually, the DHTML web pages are actually written in extensible HTML. So it is used to build up the elements for CSS and the DOM to work on. Means this DHTML web pages are written using the XHTML, and they are used to build up the elements which are for CSS and DOM to work on. Okay, there is nothing unique about XHTML for DHTML, but it's important to have a valid XHTML, because there are more things working from it than just the browser. Means there are a lot of things have been done dynamically using this XHTML. So it has changing the tags and properties, real-time positioning, dynamic fonts, and data binding. So what you can do here using DHTML is you can have the tags which are changing dynamically. Then you have the real-time positioning of the objects. You have the dynamic fonts and dynamic binding. So if you talk more about the changing the tags and properties, one of the most common uses of DHTML is changing the qualities of HTML tag. depending upon the event outside the browser. Means if any thing happens, anything happens, then what it is going to do is it is going to um, change uh, change the qualities of HTML tags depending upon the events which took place outside. Like if you are clicking a mouse, or as for the time, depending upon the time, or depending upon the count, the tags are going to change. Say for example, what you can do here is if you click on the tag, then the color of the tag may change. The color of the tag may change. For example, I will show you here. Uh, I'll show you here. See, so if I say some. Now, if you observe, it may be clear or not. See, there is some tick mark here, and also the color. It is in blue color, but this is in purple color. This is in blue color, and this is in purple color. The meaning of that is I have visited this web page earlier. This web page is visited by me earlier. That's the reason why it is appearing in some purple color, whereas this is in blue color. That is what the DHTML is going to do. It is going to change the tags. It is going to change the contents as per the mouse clicks or the time or anything else. And also the real-time positioning allows the objects, images, and text to move around the web page. See, uh, the objects, they may not be appear at the same place. They may be moving around the web page as and when required. Normally this is used for interactive games, but it is a feature you may program into your cloud pages on the basis of organization teams. It's generally, as it is said here, it is mm, used in the interactive games. But if you want something, uh, um, but it is the feature which your program, you can use it in your cloud pages as per your organization need. And also you have the dynamic fonts, or a Netscape only feature. Means the Netscape navigator which we have, it's the only, means it is the feature which belongs to a particular browser. Here it is developed to avoid about the problem designers had with nothing, with not knowing which fonts would be would be on the reader's system. So fonts are enclosed and downloaded with the web page, so that the pages always looks the way the designer is intended. Means, so if you are going for the Netscape only feature, if you are accessing a web page which has some special fonts, what it is going to do here is the fonts will be downloaded. So because sometimes what the font which we are using, that may not be existing in some other system. So what font we are using, that may not be appear in the other system. In such case, what happens here is, if you are using this dynamic font features along with the web page, the font is also downloaded, and the web page will be looked in the same way. Then you have a data binding, is an Internet Explorer only feature. So this again, so there are some specific browser features also. Data binding is an Internet Explorer feature. So Microsoft has built allow to access to the database and websites. So this is actually used to access a database and the websites, and it is similar to using CGI, the common gateway interface to access a database. Means if you are using the CGI objects where you are going to use to access the databases, this data binding is used. Okay, then you have the JavaScript. This also we have already discussed uh, uh, earlier in the web technology. So just let me brush up it once again. Uh, Along with the HTML, it's only the basic stuff. If you, it's when the user use the JavaScript to write a function that are embedded into an HTML page and interact with the DOM objects, that you start adding some specific content to that. Means why JavaScript is used, if you want to add some functionality or web to your HTML page, where the functions are embedded in your web page, and according to the values which are given there, the function will be executed and the value is displayed. In such cases, you can go for this JavaScript it adds some additional functionality to your HTML pages. Okay, and it is specific user enter, means some user entered data is there. If your user is entering some data, then according to the data entered by the user, the respective action is taken. So why this is important, why it is means how it is useful. So if any data is entered, again you need not run to the server to calculate some specific value and come back and display it. You can do it there itself. For example, I will give you, I have given this example earlier also, but I can give you that if suppose you are entering date of birth, then your age, how many, means according to today, what is your age, how many months, how many days, also you want to display it. In such a case, so if you are entering some your date of birth in DDMM YY format and you are submitting to the server, for example, if your JavaScript is not there and the program is residing on the server, then it has to take this data birth, it has to go to server, there it has to calculate and come back, and it should display the value. But whereas if JavaScript is embedded into your HTML code and a function is there which is capable of calculating your age, then you need not again send that content uh, to the server. The function will be executed at your place itself. Your browser is going to execute it, and whatever the value which you are going to get, the years, number of months, number of days will be displayed. Like that you can do it. So here some examples are giving that changing the images as the cursor rolls over them, means if you are using moving the cursor on some specific image, it is going to change the content. For that also you can use the uh, your JavaScript code, validating web form from input values to ensure that they will be accepted before submitting to the server. Just now I told you that if anything is given, you can validate it at your place itself before it is can be submitted to the window, opening or popping new windows and having control of the size and attributes of the window. Means to open the new menus, and those all you can have it. Okay, so it is a scripting language used for the client-side web development. So as I just spoken that it is a client-side web development program, and it is influenced by many languages and was designed to look like Java, but be easier for non-programmers to work with. So also it took the name from Java, but actually it is very easier than Java to be developed. Okay, so it is best known for its use in the website. It is also being used in enabling scripting accessing to the objects embedded in other applications. So not only just using at the building up at websites, it can be used to access mm, the objects embedded in other applications also. So it has very little to do with the Java programming, although it uses a common C syntax. It uses, that the JavaScript has used C syntax, and JavaScript uses many Java names and naming conventions. So it uses the Java names and naming conventions. To a Java programmer, JavaScript would appear to be light version of Java programming. So it looks like a very light version of Java programming. Okay. Next, it runs locally on the user browser rather than on the server. As I just told you that again, the same point is repeated that it actually runs on the web browser instead of the server. So it can the JavaScript can detect user action which HTML cannot, like sensing the individual keystroke. So keystrokes, if something is given, it can detect and accordingly it can react. Okay. Uh, The web browsers are used the public APIs to create host objects which are responsible for reflecting the DOM into the JavaScript. So the common hosting environment of the JavaScript is web browser, where the web browser's public APIs are used to host the objects responsible for reflecting this document object modeling objects into the JavaScript. Okay. Uh, the JavaScript program could manipulate data dynamically generate a web page. The JavaScript program could manually manipulate the data. So here some JavaScript is given, that. So this is the JavaScript which is given document that write, that it is going to write the content hello world onto the screen. Okay, so this is a small example which is given already. You had done the JavaScript earlier. Next, you need to talk about the infrastructure level. So, what the infrastructure level, what type of standards you are supposed to follow. So, we have to follow for virtualization where we are going to use the VMware, the hypervisors, and these are all. So, we will discuss about this in the next class. Then we have the service based also another discussion where here we will discuss about the REST and uh, the SOAP content. This all we will discuss the coming two classes. Okay. Any doubts, Mani? Vikanda, are you there?
Sir?
Any doubts?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay, then thank you. We'll to see you in the next class.
Okay, sir.